about is specifically emotional intelligence as a competitive advantage for your team. And how are we going to be doing that today? First, we're just going to define it. What is emotional intelligence? After that, we're going to be talking about how it can increase success with your team and then also how to strengthen your team. So emotional intelligence refers to 4 different ways of being. I'm a visual person, which is why I like to create these types of images, and I'm also a mnemonic person. So the way I always remember is it's 2 selves, 2 socials, 2 awarenesses, and 2 managements. So at the end of the day is, does Anne have awareness of what's going on with her right now? Is she hungry? Is she frustrated? Is she happy? Is she excited? Is she nervous? Is she managing that so that she is showing up appropriately at work? Is she aware when she shows up at work what's going on around her? And some people call it the vibe or the energy around her. And is she helping to manage that? Or is she actually helping to escalate it and to accelerate it if it is inappropriate? So when we think about emotional intelligence, that's what we mean. The reason this is so important is because EQ, emotional intelligence, has been claimed as the strongest predictor of a successful leader, the strongest predictor of performance. And you see some stats here on the slide. And what we're seeing is not only does it help you become more efficient, more effective at work, it actually helps you increase your salary to the tune of almost $30,000 more per year on average if someone has a high EQ. Pepsi started this years and years ago, and you can start to see some of the numbers here, up to 1,000% ROI or return on investment. So what that means is that they are saying, we're investing in our people, we're giving them the skills that they need to improve their EQ, which we're going to get to in a little bit, and it is proving to be worthwhile because we have less turnover, more productivity. Let's take a look at some other examples here. L'Oreal is doing the same, and they're saying people who have a high EQ sell better than others who don't. And then for Sheraton, for the hotel world, it actually helped us to increase market share. Remember, EQ is about the pattern of communication. And again, it's not just for individuals, it is for teams. So let's talk about how we know this. So MIT spent a lot of time researching emotional intelligence in teams. And what they did is they put sensors on people. And these sensors were able to identify 100 data points a minute. And they said, here's what we are finding out. First, we want to talk about the tone of voice. How are people using body language? Are they introverts, extroverts, all those types of things. And these data points that they used helped them understand what was going on with the team. They studied 21 different organizations, over 2,500 people now, and they found 5 things. They said there are 5 things that we can identify for a team without even looking at the team, without even meeting the team, that will tell us if this team is going to be successful and if this team has a high EQ. They don't even want to see the people. They want to just run the numbers and then they can see it. And so you may want to ask, well, what are those 5 things? So let's talk about what are those 5 things that people saw as they did this research up at MIT. So what you see here is a way of the first 3 findings and how it looks. So the first thing that they saw is that when teams are together, they are talking and listening in equal measure, and they keep their comments short and sweet. So what's happening is you see in this picture, they're talking, they're listening, equal measure, and they're keeping their comments short and sweet. The second thing they noticed of the 5 was that when people are talking, which is why video is so important today, is that they face each other when they are talking. You may think, this is easy stuff, Anne. Like, everybody knows this. Actually, not everybody knows this, and absolutely not everybody's doing it. So the first thing is, no matter who is in the meeting, no matter if it's quote the leader or not, they're talking and listening in equal measure, and they are facing each other. The third thing, as you see in this picture here, is they found out is that they are interacting with each other. Here's an example of what I mean by that. This image right here is a team that does not have a high EQ and that is not effective. Here is an image of a team that is. Team that is not effective, team that is. You may wonder, what's the difference? Well, the difference right here is that only some people are interacting only with some people. In this image here, everybody is interacting with everybody. So number 4 is that people are carrying on side conversations around the topic, and they're showing engagement. Engagement is just a fancy way of someone who is psychologically committed to make a positive contribution at work. And by carrying on side conversations, we can see that they are committed to making a positive contribution. And then finally, the 5th thing that MIT found when they started to study what makes a successful team and a team with high EQ is that when a team member learns something new, perhaps it is through something such as this, perhaps it is through another way, it could be research papers, journals, something you find in an online forum, in the old days, a face-to-face conference, they would share that with everybody else on the team. What I'd like to do now is to share with you some tips on how can you actually improve your emotional intelligence and also improve the emotional intelligence of those around you. We're going to do 5 tips. So the first one is notice what you're feeling. I know it sounds kind of obvious. However, it's really important, especially in today's time where there is heightened anxiety, that you notice what you're feeling. We live in a world of back-to-back meetings. We live in a world of no downtime. We live in a world of 24/7, whether it is news, whether it is everything else. And so it's important to know what you're feeling. So when you are feeling anxiety, when you're back-to-back meetings, take a moment, excuse yourself, get a drink of water, excuse yourself, say that you have to take a bio break, and just breathe. And that will then help you notice what you're feeling, because that's the first part, self-awareness. Second tip is notice the gaps. What do I mean by that? So notice the gaps mean notice what you're thinking and notice what your body is actually doing. If, for example, your face is looking like it's a frown, like perhaps the mouth is straight across, and someone says, "How are you doing, Anne?" "Oh, I'm great. I'm really great. Oh, I'm really great. This is just a great day." There's a disconnect. Body language needs to align with verbal language. So we call the content, that's the real word, and then the non-tent is the nonverbals. They need to align. The third tip is work on listening. Now, I know everybody here are taking lots of classes, active listening, think that they're great at listening. I understand that. And I also know that when our amygdala is constantly on fire, like it is right now, that we need to really focus on that breathing and that listening. Listening for what's going on for yourself and listening what's going on for the others. There are 3 types of listening, level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 1 listening is when you're listening, but you're not really paying attention. Level 2 listening is when you're listening and you're able to repeat back the words. And level 3 listening is when you're watching for the verbals and the nonverbals. All 3 types of levels are appropriate at certain times. Tip number 4. Tip number 4 is respond, don't react. What I mean by that is our amygdala, that fight or flight, is a reaction. For example, I told you to do it this way. I told you I don't have time right now. Right? You're reacting. Okay, if that's what you think is best, I'll take care of it. You're reacting. As supervisors, leaders, family members, community leaders, we want to be responding. We want to take that breath. We want to lower our shoulders, relax our jaw, and we want to respond with intentionality rather than reacting. Empathy and sympathy confuse sometimes, so let me just do a little reminder. Sympathy is condolences. So sorry for your loss. I'm sorry you're going through that. Empathy has 2 parts to it. The first part of empathy is being aware of the emotion that the person or persons around you are feeling. Anne seems agitated. Anne seems frustrated. Anne seems irritated. So again, having that social awareness. The second part of empathy is making sure that you can put yourself in their shoes.